Well, you know, the great thing about landscaping is you can create in your backyard in one weekend what took Mother Nature eons to put together. Hi, I'm Ken Bastida, and that'll kind of be the focal point of our project this time around. We're going to show you how to build a rustic woodland waterfall in your own backyard or anywhere else where you'd like to come together for a little peace and quiet and a sound of tranquil water flowing. Now, this is a project you can put together for about $500, and it'll take you one weekend to do it. Are you ready to get started? Well, we'll show you how. Stay with us.
That's right. We'll show you how to add drama to your garden with a rustic waterfall. Plus, give your waterfall authentic accents with a few special effects. And showcase that water feature with a medley of woodland plantings.
Well, thanks for joining us. This time around, we are in San Francisco at the home of Stanford and Margaret G. alongside our landscape designer for this project. His name is Johan Karlstrom. And boy, I was walking around the place, Stanford, here. You've already started working in the backyard with a patio that you've already built. You want to put in something else, so tell me about it.
Well, we have actually a blank corner in that corner of the yard, and we enjoy waterfalls a lot. And what we thought was maybe we have a smaller scale down version of a waterfall.
Okay, they've gotten real popular lately. Margaret, how's that sound to you?
I think a waterfall would be a perfect addition to the backyard, but I also really want to make sure we have a beautiful garden, lots of color, lots of flowers, really create a special oasis for us.
Okay, a lot of planting going on there. It'll tie it all together. It sounds good. We'll see what we can do for you. Well, Johan, our homeowners really want to build a rustic waterfall in their backyard. So what are some of the things to keep in mind before we get started?
Well, some of the most important things to remember is it's important that the waterfall occupy a natural focal point, a focal area in your garden. It's also very important that it has a lot of height, because with the other plants around grow up, you know, it needs to have enough height to tower above those other plants. And it's also very important that it can both be enjoyed aesthetically as well as being able to hear it from both inside the house and outside the house.
Take a look at these examples. Johan says, try to integrate a water feature into the existing surroundings for maximum effect. Position it near a seating area so visitors can enjoy its natural beauty. And by locating it near some windows, you'll be able to appreciate it from inside the house as well. This is the site where we'll be working today, a small backyard with nothing except a new flagstone patio, but no real focal point to entice visitors into the area. Take a look at the overhead plan. The waterfall will go here in one corner of the yard. A flagstone patio will overhang the pond of the waterfall, and a dry creek bed here completes the illusion of water flowing beneath the patio and winding through the yard. The crew will start by digging out the pond and building the shape of the waterfall. Next, they'll set in a large focal rock at the top of the falls. And then they'll build up the face and the sides with stones, filling between them with smaller river rock. Finally, they'll plant in and around the waterfall to complete its natural woodland look.
Well, we've got a lot of work planned for the backyard, Johan. Let's talk a little bit about cost. If a homeowner wants to do a project like this and they want to hire it out, what can they expect to pay?
To do a waterfall like this would be probably about $1,200, done by a professional, not including the cost of the plants.
Okay, about $1,200. Now, if we have some people who want to do the work themselves, what are they looking at in terms of cost?
Probably, if you're due to do it by yourself, probably be about $500.
Okay, so that's a substantial savings. We're talking $1,200 to hire it out, about $500 if you do it yourself.
Right.
Well, Johan, I think you got the cost right. Let's talk a little bit about effort to get the water flowing through our waterfall here. What's this going to take, say on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most difficult?
Well, I think moving the materials and all that and setting it up is fairly easy. What's a little more difficult is playing with the stone, the arrangement of the stone, the arrangement of the plants to get that flow just right, so it creates a beautiful artistic waterfall. I would say a combination of those two things, I'd give it about a 3.
About a 3, okay. Well, I'm ready to get started on our project. What's the first step, Johan?
Well, first step is we create the shape of the waterfall.
Okay, let's get started.
Johan says this project would take most homeowners only 1 weekend to complete, but we're building it today with the help of a professional crew. Johan starts by marking out the shape of the pond at the base of the waterfall. For this project, he's making it about 4 feet wide and locating it right next to the edge of the existing patio. Then he digs it out, carving out some of the area beneath the patio so that the flagstone overhangs the pond. This will give the illusion that the water is disappearing beneath it. And Johan says while he's making this pond about 20 inches deep, you'll need to make yours at least 36 inches deep if you want to put fish in it. Once that pond is finished, you're ready to build up the waterfall itself.
Johan, we're moving right along with the project. We've got the pond dug out now, and we've got to build that waterfall with rock. And I notice we have these huge boulders you brought in here. And what are we going to use these for?
Well, the first thing we need to do with the waterfall is we need to create the focal point, the height, the drama. And for that we use a large stone to get all those three things. We can either use real stones or we can use something I prefer.
Hey, this is not a real rock.
No, these are mock rocks, synthetic stones. They're manufactured stones that have a lot of advantages. Some of the advantages, you can get a lot of height into a small space, also through small place, small confines like a doorway or something like that. Also just the ease of handling. Something like this, if it was real stone, would weigh a ton or more, and you wouldn't be able to get it through a house or through a side yard easily. The other advantages are, since they come in preformed shapes that look exactly like real stones, you can use them to have water run off of them. You can use them as places to sit. There's that function already built in.
Well, the best part is they look so authentic. I couldn't tell the difference between this and a real rock.
The crew starts by piling up all that dirt they dug out for the pond and shaping it into a mound about 2 feet high. Then comes the focal rock, that manufactured boulder. You may want to get a friend to help you set it into place because while they're lighter than real boulders, they've still got some weight to them. Once you've positioned the boulder the way you want, backfill around it with dirt to help hold it in place. Now you can do the detail work on your shaping. The crew sets in a few smaller boulders to add some height and help create the upper bowl and the spillway. This bowl will be shallow, only around 4 to 6 inches deep, so that more water will flow down to the next level. About a foot below the spillway, the crew carves out an inverted D shape to make a small inlet for the running water. Finally, they dig out a narrow shelf around the perimeter of the pond to hold some rocks and plantings. Just make sure everything's level for a perfect-looking pond.
Well, our waterfall's really beginning to take shape. Don't you go away, because when we come back, we'll start setting in that stone.
We're adding some natural drama to this San Francisco backyard with landscape designer Johan Karlstrom, who's giving us insider tips on building a garden-sized woodland waterfall. It's a project that costs around $500 and will take most homeowners just 1 weekend to complete. So far, we've built up the shape of our waterfall. Now we're ready to add the stonework.
But Johan, we've got the waterfall all laid out now. We have that big boulder set up for the middle. You got some smaller rocks now. What have you picked out?
Well, I try to pick something that's indigenous to the area, as well as has a kind of nice cubic yet rounded shape, so it makes it easy to build with. This is Sonoma fieldstone, and I'm using this in conjunction with the mock rock, a mixture of synthetic and real stone. We're using the bigger pieces to create the actual structure. The The mock rock is the pinnacle. This is the surrounding hills, foothills, if you can imagine. And then we're going to use even smaller pieces to actually build up around the water.
This stuff is nice and rugged looking. Folks can use just about whatever is indigenous to their area then.
Yeah, it's especially nice when it has lichens and moss encrusted on it. As soon as you stick this into the water feature, the water starts pouring, mosses will start sprouting, the lichens will start growing, and it's quite beautiful.
Before hauling in those rocks, you'll need to lay in a liner. Our crew is using a standard pond liner that's large enough to fit loosely over the entire waterfall and pond. Just tuck the liner into place and pleat it so that it conforms to the shape of the waterfall. Finally, fill up the pond with water to keep that liner weighted down. Now go ahead and set in the stones. Our crew starts by placing a flat moss rock on the ledge of the upper bowl to serve as the spill stone. They tuck the liner over it so that the water won't flow underneath it. And then they add a couple of Sonoma field stones to hold the liner in place. Continue dry stacking the boulders right on top of that liner to form the upper bowl and the sides of the waterfall, and backfill behind them so they don't move around. And Johan says it's okay to leave gaps because you can plant between the rocks for a natural look. Now's also the time to add the tubing, which will recirculate water from a pump system in the pond back to the top of the waterfall. Just slip it between the rocks at the top of the falls so that it's not visible. You can bury the rest later on. Move on to the lower level and use another flat moss rock to cover the face of the spillway. And then set more field stones along that shelf overhanging the pond and any place else where the liner is visible to complete the main structure of the waterfall.
Well, the last few stones are going into our waterfall right now. Probably a perfect time to take a minute and check out our planting plan. Well, Johan, I got to hand it to you. You really came prepared. You got a lot of beautiful flowers and plants, a whole truckload, in fact. How are we going to use these in the project?
Well, you know, again, most waterfalls are set in a lush setting. So what we're using is the lusher looking plants of the plant palette that we're using in this project and using those around the waterfall. In addition to that, since it's a small waterfall and we want it to look larger than it really is, we're using forced perspective, and we're using plants with larger leaves up front, then going to plants that look the same with smaller leaves behind that, and with even smaller leaves behind that. So it looks like you're looking up a big mountain and up a big waterfall.
That's a great effect.
Johan is using woodland plants with interesting form and foliage to draw attention to the waterfall. And he's adding some small, fine textured plants with jewel-toned blooms to bring color into the garden. Johan is using a Japanese maple near the top of the waterfall. He likes this tree's willowy form and arching shoots. And its feathery dark red foliage helps draw the eye to the water feature. In the gaps between the fieldstone, Johan is planting tricolor sedum, which boasts small green, cream, and pink leaves. Sedum is natural to woodland settings, and its mat-forming growth habit makes it perfect for borders and rock gardens. For some added color, he's also using Japanese bloodgrass, favored for its spiky foliage, which turns from green to a striking blood red. And the long blades on this grass are a graceful accent to breezy gardens. Another popular choice for woodland gardens is the dwarf geranium. This compact, low-growing perennial blooms small rosettes in vivid colors, perfect for brightening up dark corners.
Well, our woodland garden is going in right now. Stick around, because when we come back, we're going to finish up that waterfall, and we'll have some special effects to give it a mystical quality.
Welcome back. We can almost hear the waters flowing in this San Francisco backyard, where landscape designer Johan Karlstrom is showing us how to build a natural woodland waterfall. This is a project that you can do in just one weekend for around $500. So far, we've dry stacked Sonoma fieldstone to give the waterfall a rugged look. Now we're ready to add some finishing touches to complete our project.
Well, Johan, the waterfall looks great. Are we ready to turn on the water yet?
Almost. What we need to do now is add some finishing touches, and one of those is to use some river rocks, some creek rocks in the waterfall to do two things. One of the things that we're going to be doing is giving it a natural look, like water's been running down it for millennia. The other thing we're going to be doing is using these to fill in the places where the liner is still showing in between the larger rocks. For this, I've chosen Ling Creek. And these Ling Creek pebbles are about $260 a ton. It's a really beautiful stone, has a lot of beautiful earth tones in it.
Johan says you don't have to be precise when spreading out the pebble. Just grab a shovelful and fill up some of those gaps between the rocks, letting the pebbles fall where they please. And once all that rock work is done, you're ready to set in the pump. Our crew is using one that pumps 530 gallons per hour to really get the water flowing over those rocks. Just attach the other end of the tubing to the pump box and sink it right into the pond. Then plug it in and give the waterfall a test run so you can adjust the flow of the water. And Johan has some special effects tips to add some more drama to that waterfall. Just hook up microspray nozzles to your drip irrigation system. Adjust them to the finest setting to create a misty look, just like you'd find around waterfalls out in nature. And as an added bonus, those irrigation lines will help keep your pond filled too. Well, before we let those waters flow, let's take a look at some other ways to complement our waterfall.
Well, Johan, you built the waterfall on one side of the yard, but we want to do this whole area. We want to tie it in with the rest of the yard. How do you do that?
Well, the way we did it is the waterfall is positioned where it's most appreciated, right on the edge of the patio, where people can look at it. But then the waters seem to flow underneath the patio, out the other side, where it becomes a dry creek bed, a seasonal creek bed. And then that meanders through the property underneath this bridge, and then vanishes off at the other end of the property into a fern grotto. And we're able to create a lot of interest and drama by having to go under things and over things and such.
Yeah, it really is a great effect. Well, listen, when we come back, we're going to show you our woodland waterfall, a little bit of Niagara Falls, right here in San Francisco.
For questions or comments, please write to Landscape Smart, care of HGTV, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee 37950. And be sure to include the episode number and your daytime phone number.
Well, the woodland waterfall is finished. Are you guys ready to show everybody what we ended up with?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Before we do, let's take a look at the site before we got started. A small backyard with very little landscaping except a newly installed patio. But there's nothing to entice visitors out into the yard. Now let's take a look at our finished woodland waterfall. A rush of water flows over the rocks and disappears beneath the patio, creating a dramatic splash in this urban garden. Dry stacked Sonoma fieldstone adds height to the waterfall, making it appear larger than it actually is. A natural-looking man-made boulder forms the pinnacle of the falls and blends easily into the surroundings. And woodland plantings set off the waterfall, adding to the grandeur of the water feature.
Stanford, we got the waterfall running now. How do you like the project?
Ken, I love it. Actually, it brings a lot of drama to the backyard. It's going to be a great addition to the patio. I think we're really going to enjoy sitting out here more often.
Boy, I hope so. Margaret, how do you like it? Huh?
Oh, I love it too. I love to hear the water running over the rocks, and I really love the way the waterfall looks nestled with all the plants around it.
Well, we got your beautiful colored plants are all in place now. Johan, we had a number of design principles that we really wanted to address in this project. Do we think we met most of those?
Yeah, Ken, it worked wonderfully. The mock rock created this beautiful pinnacle, which allowed us to gain a lot of height in a very, very small space. The dry stack stones added a real natural quality. And then on the other side of the patio, we have a dry creek bed with a lot of plants, so it suggests water flowing. We have it going underneath the bridge and then vanishing into the fern grotto. It looks gorgeous.
Well, I really like this project because it's a perfect example of really sort of bringing up the drama in your backyard by just looking to Mother Nature to get some great landscaping ideas. That's what we did with this woodland waterfall, sort of created a mystic area in the backyard, and we did it all in one weekend, which makes it even better. We're going to take a minute right now to recap this one and show you how we put it together.
We started by digging out the pond, extending it beneath the flagstone patio. We built up the waterfall itself using a manufactured boulder as a focal rock and then carved out different levels beneath it. Next came the liner, which we tucked into shape. And then we dry stacked Sonoma fieldstone on top of it to define the path of the water. We added river-washed pebbles for a natural tumbled look and installed misters to complete the whole effect. And finally, we highlighted the waterfall with plantings to surround it in a natural woodland environment. And just look at our finished woodland waterfall.
Well, we want to thank our homeowners, Stanford and Margaret G. Thanks for your hospitality. Also want to thank our landscape designer, Johan Karlstrom, and his crew. You guys did a great job. I'm Ken Bastida, here to remind you that with a little hard work and some imagination, your project can turn out just as well as theirs did. We'll see you next time.